Christina Hutzel. What was Hubbard's rationale for setting this up and requiring them to always be upstat? It seems bizarre to me that weekly statistics would be incorporated into any sort of spiritual practice. Are upstat statistics used to create the illusion that Scientology is growing to its members? Does requiring rising statistics help ensure that Sea Org and staff work hard to disseminate Scientology? Also, I've read that students in Scientology also have to be upstat. Does this apply to all public, or is it just for those training to be auditors? Okay, Christina, thank you for this question. So, the rationale for this is that expansion, growing, taking on more, becoming a bigger being. These are the terms or expressions or ideas that are used in Scientology from the bottom to the top of the bridge to express that a person is becoming more powerful, more able, more influential, more more powerful, basically. And so all Scientologists are constantly trying to expand. Hubbard makes a point over and over again in Scientology that in this universe, nothing stays the same. It either gets better or it gets worse. And it's assumed in Scientology that when you are expanding and becoming bigger and better, that is a good thing, that is survival for you. Now, obviously, a cancer or a virus or, some horrible, awful thing that's expanding and getting bigger is, you don't want that. So it's not everything is supposed to get bigger and better. But when it comes to you and your relationship with your wallet, with your life, with your job, with your kids, you always want more. Hubbard was big on abundance. Wanted lots of stuff, right? Whether it was money, women, power, influence, it was more. And that's a very, very basic philosophical point in Scientology. It's really, it pervades all of Scientology, this attitude of growth and expansion. So clearly, Scientology cannot reach all the people of the world if it doesn't expand. It's got to get bigger. So this becomes a real obsessive point for Scientologists, and Hubbard decided back in the 50s, I think it was, certainly in the 60s, that statistics were the thing that was going to measure people's production on their jobs. And that's where it first came into play, was with staff members and then Sea Org members. If you had a job, you had a statistic, and the statistic either gets worse, stays the same, or gets better. Only those three things can happen on a weekly basis. So you don't want it going down, and you don't want it level. Level means you did the same this week that you did last week. No expansion. So you want it to be getting better. Now, Hubbard also talks about the fact that, you get to a point where there are only so many bricks a person can lay. And Hubbard starts getting a little equivocal around there, because he sort of implies this idea that, there's a ceiling to how much you can produce, and you really can't go higher than that. You're flat out, you're working as much as you can. Well, basically, if you read all of Hubbard's stuff on the policy and on how jobs work and how production works, the idea is that at that point, you're supposed to actually get promoted. You're supposed to move up and start producing at a higher level at a different job and have people under you, because you've proven that you can produce this amazing amount and you can consistently produce that. That is called power. That's a power condition where the graph goes way up and then it stays at this new higher level. And the power formula basically has you sort of figuring out what you did to accomplish that, but really has the idea of moving on or promoting a person whose statistics are like that. And if you had people who could produce power statistics on jobs where they could take it into a whole nother level and by themselves keep it there or somehow organize the activity so it stays at that new high level, well, that's what you want. And then you either reorganize the production lines or the time, or you throw some more people in there, or you figure out how you can bring it up to the next level from there. But I think you get the idea. So this is something that is talked about and thought about quite a bit in Scientology's policies. And management is constantly driving for expansion, and this is represented by statistics going up. If statistics are going down, things are getting worse. And we don't want that. Less money, less resources, less points, less people. Bad. All bad, right? Okay, so up statistics. This is everything I just explained is sort of the theory of it. Now, Hubbard acknowledges that one of the biggest problems with this is that the accuracy of the statistic and what the statistic is has to measure the actual production of the job. And if it's not, then you can stat push, where you can start pushing for the statistic to go up. You just do whatever it takes to drive the statistic up, but things don't really get a lot better. You're just stat pushing. You're just making a graph go up, and it's not really doing anything. It's not really reflected in the real world because it's either a wrong statistic or you are not honestly, with integrity, producing the statistic. It's a half-shod, slip-shod, no-shod job. That's a bad statistic or a false statistic or a stat push. And Hubbard didn't want any of that. While at the same time, of course, he did, because the amount of pressure that was being put down the lines on this. And we see this repeated as a pattern, not only in the Sea Org or in Scientology, but in every company where statistics have been implemented. We have seen instances where people falsify the statistics because their production bonuses depend on it, and they don't know how to get the statistics up honestly or for real or steadily or with, building something that's actually going to last. You can go in and just drive the statistic up, but you tear the whole place apart in the process. This was another problem that Hubbard acknowledged and was trying to deal with through lectures to executives in 1971 on the ship. He had them all come out there and he trained them on this senior executive stuff because he said that you got to organize things so that you're ripping through the production zones and you are getting as much production out of them as you can, but at the same time you're coming up and fixing what's breaking and you're organizing and preparing for the next round of production that's supposed to happen. And Hubbard created a very strange system that was supposed to kind of be implemented to make this production and organized thing work, but no one in Scientology has ever implemented it to make it work. And the reason why is he might have had some of the right problems in mind, but his solutions did not make any sense. And that's really upper level, high level training for executives in Scientology. It's called the Flag Executive Briefing Course. And it's the highest executive training you can do in Scientology. And Hubbard breaks the system down of the product officer and the organizing officer and the establishment officer. And these guys are supposed to be this little system that drives these statistics up and establishes more organization while the production is happening. But the system is so confusing and weird, no one's ever been able to figure it out. And it's a mess, right? And that is that. So I only went on that little roll, one, to give you information about something I've never really talked about before, and I thought it would be suitable for this question. But two, to also give you the idea of why it is that you can have statistics going up and still not really have any real expansion. Because the statistics have to reflect reality, and you got to do it right. And Scientologists pushed hard to make the stat go up no matter what it takes. Their integrity flies out the window because the number becomes more important than the actual products they're supposed to be producing. And that's how that works. And you asked, does this apply in terms of statistics or for students? That's all students, not just auditors in training. Not the new guys, but when you go into the academy, the Division 4, the main line, when you're a real Scientologist and not just a little fledgling Scientologist, then you start keeping track of student points and your completions and stuff, and those are your statistics, and all students keep track of that. There you go.